All right, here we are back on NBA 2K24 with our Las Vegas Outlaws expansion franchise series. And we're going to simulate first the play-in tournament. Denver, Minnesota. We already went over the other ones. Obviously, Oklahoma City versus the Pelicans. New York is going to be against Miami, and Cleveland gets to take on Indiana. We're going to simulate round by round. We're going to look at the playoff numbers, and we're going to see what is going on here. Pretty uneventful. Atlanta beats the Celtics in 6. Cleveland handles the Pacers in 5. Milwaukee sweeps Memphis. The Heat cannot pull off the 8th seed Magic again and lose in 6. Now in the West,
Denver was able to beat Minnesota, although it had to happen in 7 games.
As did the Clippers-Suns series. That also went 7. But Denver and Phoenix are going to get a rematch. And then we've got Golden State versus Dallas also goes 7. And Golden State pulls away. The only real easy matchup was Thunder versus Pelicans, which only went 5 games. We're going to move ahead here. Oh, and wow. Milwaukee versus New York goes 7. Milwaukee takes that. Cleveland, Atlanta goes 7, but Cleveland takes that. So Milwaukee, Cleveland's your matchup in the East. The Thunder sweep Golden State. Lauri Markkanen is clearly a great addition for them at the deadline. Again, remember they were the 7th seed. Now they climbed all the way to 2 and are in the conference finals against Phoenix, who beat Denver in 6. Very interesting Final Four here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins Western Conference MVP, and Donovan Mitchell wins MVP in the Eastern Conference. Oklahoma City goes 7 against Phoenix in Game 7. Lauri Markkanen puts up 22. Obviously, Shai puts up 41. Oh, my God. Phoenix lost by, is that 59 points? No way did they lose by 59. Oh, my God, in Game 7. They can't escape it. Bradley Beal, 2 for 7, obviously didn't have a great game. Neither did Kevin Durant. Booker, the only one who actually came out and performed, which is ironic given his Game 7 reputation. And now we have Thunder Cavs. Thunder take Game 1. Darius Garland does not shoot very well. Donovan Mitchell just doesn't shoot enough. Max Strus, not a great game. Neither did Isaac Okoro. And the Cavs were still competitive here, so Lauri Markkanen did not have a great game in his first finals appearance, but we'll say they got the dub anyway. So we're going to go sim through this next game. Thunder take it again, and these are the 2 games that the Cavs have at home, if I'm not mistaken. They need to figure this out. Donovan Mitchell, as great as he was in the playoffs, is not having that great of a final, so they need a lot more out of him. Shai, on the other hand, 47 assists, 6 steals. 6 steals. That's crazy. And yeah, Lauri Markkanen, 10 points, 4 for 12. So maybe Shai is just built different. I don't know. And the Thunder take Game 3. Wow. Yeah, Shai is built different. Lauri Markkanen is not going crazy by any means. Definitely not the biggest player on the team. Like, how did Gordon Hayward get 20 in a finals game? That's what I want to know. The Cavs lost by 5. Put up a lot of points here. 38, 34, like 150, 145. This went to OT, too. Wow. That's a crazy game. And that's it. The Thunder sweep the Cavs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins finals MVP. In that final game, Shai put up 43, 5, and 4 steals. And Lauri Markkanen went 2 for 9. But Shai was clearly the best player. Total domination on his part. And yeah, that's why it ended up the way that it ended up. So now looking ahead to the offseason, we're going to look at player retirements. Al Horford retires, Mike Conley. I can't let LeBron. I'm not letting LeBron retire. I can't do it. Everybody else is fine. They all want to leave. That's okay. But I cannot let LeBron retire just yet. There's no way he would retire after this season in real life. No Hall of Famers. Kyle Lowry, I was going to say, he better get it retired. League meetings. I'm actually going to let that slide because I think that's something. They're not going to do 3 in the key completely eliminated, but the 3 in the key should be a 5-second thing. Totally 100%. Players are eligible for the draft once they reach 18. Yup, totally. And then opposing teams will enter the bonus after 3 fouls. No shot. But I like that the one and done rule is gone and that the 3 in the key is now 5 seconds. So those are some cool rule changes. We're going to move forward now to the draft lottery. This is big for us. No doubt about it. Can't come away with a not top 10 pick, and that's what I'm worried of with the 7th best odds here. So picking first in the lottery, or picking last in the lottery, rather, is the Pelicans. Magic are going to get their spot at 15. That's cool. And the 76ers get pick 14. And the 13th pick goes to the Pistons. So that's nice. Gotta love that. Kings with the 12th pick. Do they stay the Kings? They do. So no changes yet. 11th pick still goes to the Nets. All right. So we have clinched a top 10 pick for sure. Now, does Charlotte stay at 10? Yes, Charlotte stays at 10. All right. This is where we could probably fall to. So the Bulls pick 9. Ooh, the Rockets get pick 9. Interesting, from Brooklyn. Now the Jazz stay at 8. Okay, interesting. So now the Spurs are predicted for the 7th pick, and they get it. So the Spurs have pick 7. And now 6 is the Mavericks. Wow. The Mavericks via the Rockets, who were one of the worst teams in the league. Mavericks are only picking at 6. I think they had the second best odds. Wow. Now the Sonics are supposed to get pick 5. I don't understand that, but they do. So we have a better pick than the Sonics, even though the Sonics tanked all season, had the worst record in the league. They had the best odds, and they picked 5. So now the Wizards here could get pick 4, and it's the Bulls. The Bulls get pick 4. Still better, though. They still overachieved there. Oh, wow. The Blazers with pick 3. That means we're getting a top 2 pick. And we pick 2. I can accept that. We were at 7, and we've climbed all the way up to 2. And the Wizards are going to be the top picking team in the league, which I actually really like, honestly. Could not have drawn that up better. All right, so now we're going to get into staff signing. What we need is a head scout and an assistant GM. So we'll look for that. All right, and both of them want to sign, so that's cool. Right now, obviously that's the draft combine. We can look at it a little bit. Highest vertical is JoJo Alexander, tied with Cade Palmer, both 44-inch verticals. Pre-draft, now that we're at 2, we have some options. We're going to invite all the top guys, honestly. JoJo Hayward, like all of these guys. Just anybody that we think could be good. Bryson Butler, really? Still like middle draft when he's 79 overall? Okay, so I think I know what I want to do here. Oh, wow. Ace Tillman Hall of Fame potential, though. Michael Jordan is his comparison for his ceiling. And Seth Foster Hall of Fame? Dude. Okay. I'm going to try and get some extra draft picks this year because we've got some crazy, crazy options to choose from. We are going to get into the draft, but I'm going to see what I can't finagle with some trades. So this is an interesting trade here for the Pelicans pick 23 and a future first in 2028. All we have to do is give up our second round pick. So we're basically using Chris Boucher to get a future first, and we're going to trade up our second round pick from 6 all the way up to 23. So we're going to do that. I couldn't really find any other moves that I liked here. So we're going to get into the NBA draft. They are on the clock, and they select Gino Braun. Yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a player. 80 overall. So these are his skills. He's obviously got a lot of potential as a scorer, but overall, I mean, he's just great. Potential. I mean, he's going to develop into something amazing. He already has a high floor, high ceiling, great rebounder, like just a culture-changing player that the Wizards just got there, which brings the draft now to us. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to look at the trades because if we have some options here, like I'm not doing this. I'm not doing Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic, right? But if we can get, like LaMelo Ball, that's crazy. I was hoping for like a trade. Yeah, like something like that, like pick 5 and Jared Vanderbilt. But I don't want those guys. Now I'm left with a pretty difficult choice here. I have to choose between Mac Howard, who I like a lot, and Andre Ramirez. So looking at their numbers, Mac is better. He's more efficient, better. Yeah, he's more efficient in every level. Strengths, he's got good lower body strength, gets to his spots with ease, can get shots off without actions being run for him, can be counted on to score points with his back to the basket, no significant weaknesses, and he's past his physical. Good but not great pickpocket ability at this stage of his development. That's a very odd strength. On his best days, he can dribble himself open against plus defenders, adept at disrupting the offense with his quick hands. See, I like this dude a lot. I really do. Andre Ramirez out of Indiana is great. I like Geno Falls Jr. too. Definitely a great defensive player. I just think Mac Howard Jr., he's going to be the guy. He's definitely going to be the guy. I was really surprised he didn't go number 1 overall. Obviously, Hall of Fame potential. Everybody has him either going 1 or 2. He's going to be a Vegas Outlaw. So we've now taken Mr. Mac Howard. We are going to pause the draft and go look at him. He's actually an 81 overall, as opposed to the 80 from Geno Braun. His potential is an A- instead of an A, but he is still an amazing, amazing player to get. Great athlete, great defender. You know, he could be a good ball handler, great three-point shooter. Obviously has a lot to work on in the mid-range and is an inside scorer, but to not only have the 7th best odds in the lottery and pick number 2, but also be able to pick a guy like Mac Howard Jr. out of Washington, I can't be any happier. We're going to look here. What is the Blazers going to do at 3? They're going to go Andre Ramirez. He's also an 80. Turning down him was hard. He's definitely a more well-rounded scorer. He does actually have A-plus potential, even though his potential said All-NBA, and Mac Howard's said A-, and he was Hall of Fame. Interesting. So Andre Ramirez here, an amazing player to get with pick 3 for the Blazers. I think this was probably the guy they wanted in general, but I just like Mac Howard as a scorer more. They're very close, though. Obviously, Mac is slightly a better defender, too. But this is going to be an interesting rivalry between these two players. Now, the Chicago Bulls are on the clock, and they take Theo Carney. Wow. Classic Bulls here. I mean, he's not a bad player by any means. I don't know that he was supposed to be mocked this early and B- potential. No, I mean, he's a great player. He can definitely play behind Vucevic. He gives the Bulls something that they don't have right now, like a great rebounding defensive player. Like, yeah, Vucevic is a good rebounder, but he's not a good, like, shot blocker. He's an athlete, but yeah, he doesn't have a high ceiling, you know, and I just don't know if that's what you use the 4th pick in the draft on. That's my personal opinion, though. And it's Geno Falls Jr. out of Boise State. So the other really good forward, we knew there were 3, Mac Howard, Andre Ramirez, and now Geno Falls. Not as great 3 level. We knew that. He's definitely the better defender out of the 3 of them. He is a good inside and mid-range scorer, though, and he is the better athlete. And honestly, he's probably pretty close to Mac Howard Jr. This is going to be an interesting rivalry. Obviously, Geno's already 20 and Mac is 18, but these 3 forwards, they're going to be interesting to see how they dominate the game in the next couple of seasons. Very excited for the Geno Falls Mac Howard Jr. matchup. Now with pick 6, the Mavericks want to trade it for Van Vliet and Steven Adams. I don't think that's 6 pick material right there. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna let them do it. This is what they want to do. They can go right ahead. The Mavericks want Van Vliet and Adams. The Rockets need young talent. The experiment with the veterans didn't work, and they do pick at 9 too. But this is going to be interesting. So now the Rockets are on the clock again. They pick again at 9, and they're going to go Adonis Abrinas. Yep, I love that pick for them. I like that pick a lot. Adonis Abrinas, what a scorer. He's obviously a plus defender. Great athleticism. His potential is not as high as the three forwards, but he is a great pick here at 6. Really excited to see how he fits there in Houston. Definitely worth both Steven Adams and Fred VanVleet for this guy. I mean, that's an amazing trade for them. Just a great scorer. They clearly did not have enough of that. But still, 6'6", not a bad defender either. You'll take that. Who are the Spurs going to put with Wembanyama? That's the real question. They're going to put Ace Tillman. Yeah, if he started to fall, I was definitely going to have to look at that. Because Ace Tillman, I mean, the guy is incredible. He's a great three-point scorer, still a good defender. Him and Adonis Sabonis were definitely going back-to-back there. B- potential, though. It said he was Hall of Fame was his ceiling, and his potential is a B-. That's a shock for me. He's going to be a great player for them. Definitely a great scorer, which they need, but a good defender, again, like the Popovich system. Definitely a good player to pair next to Victor Wembanyama. So now we've got the Jazz at 8. This is the pick they got back by trading Lauri Markkanen. And the Jazz select Asher Feng out of Memphis. Interesting prospect. Did not expect him to go this high. He is a 21-year-old, 75 overall. He's very well-rounded, I will say that. I don't know about this pick, though. Because he's not going to get too much better. His potential, C+. I don't think Utah made the right pick here. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. Very versatile, definitely a player that can fit into the system that they're running. Hey, that's what the Jazz want to do, and we'll see how that works out for them. Now, the Rockets are on the clock again at 9, and they are going to select Stacey Nixon. What a pick for the Rockets here. Stacey Nixon comes in as a 74 overall. I really like it. He's obviously not a great defender, but that A potential. Yeah, I had a feeling he was going to have that. I do, obviously, full transparency, I do create these draft classes, but when I put a draft class in at the beginning of a season, the players change. Like, their overalls change a little bit, their potentials change. So yeah, I created all the players and made their attributes, but to a degree, everything changes a lot. Although Stacey Nixon, I did know that I made him have high potential. Definitely the player that the Rockets need right here. Great scorer, decent playmaker, but right now, what he's going to be doing is coming off the bench and giving you buckets. He'll evolve as a player. He's obviously not going to get a ton of minutes off the bat, but with that high potential rating, he's going to blossom in the first couple of seasons. I really like this pick for Houston, especially now that they have Adonis Sabonis. That duo side by side, that could be filthy. So now we have the Charlotte Hornets on the clock, and they are going to select O.J. Hayward. So this is a combo guard type player. I remember talking about him in the first episode. Great playmaker, great defender, not a score-first player. Unfortunately for Charlotte, only has B- potential. He's a great player culture-wise for them. Someone that can help get LaMelo some shots in rhythm. If LaMelo plays off the ball, OJ is definitely a ball-dominant type of player, but at the worst case of scenarios, he's kind of like a Marcus Smart player, and Marcus Smart went pick 5, if I'm not mistaken. So, hey, if you're Charlotte at pick 10, O.J. Hayward, you can't really be too mad at that. Next up, we've got Brooklyn. They want to trade it, and they want to get De'Aaron Fox. So the Kings, who pick at 12, clearly have someone that they're worried about. The Kings did not finish good this year. They were in the play-in. I don't know how super realistic this is, but honestly, you know what? It's my league franchise, and I like this. So I'm going to allow that to happen. Dennis Schroeder, and this pick gets De'Aaron Fox in Brooklyn. Now the Kings are on the clock. They have back-to-back picks. The first pick, Bryson Butler Jr. That's predictable, and I think that makes sense for them, giving up their star point guard for a guy who is really similar value but is on a much cheaper contract. Now, Bryson Butler, great playmaker, great scorer, not a great defender, hell of an athlete. You see the A-plus potential, man. Kings got a great one. Honestly, do not know how he fell to 11. There was a serious shot that I was going to pick him at like 5 or 6. Great pick there. And now they have the next pick. So we're going to see what they do in back-to-back picks. And they select Braden Fisher III. I don't know how I feel about it. Braden Fisher, not a high ceiling guy. Definitely an athletic guy. Very well-rounded, as I said, but he's 23. If you're Sacramento and you were going to have to pick this guy and just have this guy and add him to your team versus get them both, I feel like Sacramento is happy starting over with Bryson Butler as opposed to De'Aaron Fox, and Bryson Butler conveniently wears Fox's 5. Now we have Detroit on the clock, and they go Ken Soto. Ken Soto's 22, good defender, A+ potential. The only thing that I think about when I see this is that the Pistons have Jalen Duren, and I don't know if Ken Soto is going to be comfortable backing up Jalen Duren, but I definitely don't think that you can start them side by side. It's not like Ken Soto is a freak athlete. Like, he's a center. Yeah, he's a backup power forward position, but realistically, you don't really want to play him at the power forward unless, like, you know, you're playing like Victor Wembanyama or somebody like that. So, great pick. Absolutely a great pick. He's going to play really well with Cade, but long term, it's probably going to have to be between him or Duren. And now we're on to Philly, who takes JoJo Alexander. I do like that pick a lot. JoJo's 19. He's a 79 overall. Great scorer. Great defender. He is a freak athlete. Great defender. Like, he is a glue guy on a championship team. I think he fits perfect in Philly. Great winning now type of player. Definitely someone that can replace, you know, the Kyle Lowry minutes. So really like the JoJo Alexander pick for Philly. Now the Magic are on the clock. We're going to see what they do. The Kings want to give up the player that they traded De'Aaron Fox for and give up Harrison Barnes to get back a second and get this pick. That makes no sense for the Kings. So I'm going to say no. And the Magic go Gabriel Stevens, which I really like this pick for them. They need a big. He's a 75 overall, great defender, great rebounder, not great potential. But at this point in the draft, we're talking about pick 15 here. You know, this is a solid plug-and-play guy. He can hit shots from all 3 levels, but he's an incredible interior defender and rebounder. Just a big body to have, and that's something that I don't think, honestly, that the Magic have or have had in a really long time. Now we got the Pelicans, who are rounding out the lottery here, and they go Rod King. Rod King is an interesting player for them. I really like him. He is 23. He's not a great scorer from the all 3 levels, but he is pretty decent from the first 2. He can't hit the 3 ball yet. He's a good rebounder. He does have medium potential. I don't know if I say all-star. Definitely a pseudo all-star. I could definitely see him averaging like 15 or so points, grabbing a good amount of rebounds. He's not quite the like defender that someone like Stevens or Soto are. Obviously, you look at those defensive stats, he's so-so defensively, but he's still a great rebounder. Now we've got the Heat on the clock, and they are going to select Dwayne Knight III, who honestly, I feel like he just looks like a Miami Heat player. Sounds like a Miami Heat player. A great defender. He's a good athlete. Not a great potential, you know, like he's not, at this point in the draft, you're not going to get that many like superstar level players, which as you should not. You know, he's a capable scorer from all 3, but he's great inside, around the basket, not a playmaker. He's kind of the perfect complement to either Terry Rozier or Tyler Herro, though. I really do like how he fits on this Heat team. Very excited to see him there. Now with Toronto on the clock, they select Wally Patton. So this is, again, speaking of like these 3-and-D guys and like guys that just fit on a team. I love Wally Patton. I don't know if he's a 3-and-D guy, but he's definitely got the 3 part of it. He's 21 years old, out of Kentucky, 6'6", good size. He's a decent passer, decent defender, pretty good athlete. Obviously, again, potential isn't going to be through the roof, but when you're at this point in the draft, you know, you have these picks available to you. You know, we're talking about pick 18 here. I mean, this is very good value for this point in the draft, so you got to commend the Raptors here. Now we've got the Pelicans back on the clock after selecting Rod King. They double down at center. They take Gilbert Cassell, who I like. Nothing wrong with Gilbert Cassell. I think he's great. Great, like, good defender, good rebounder, obviously decent potential. It's just interesting that they would pick both. Because I like Cassell. He's 2 years younger. You know, he's very similar build-wise, a little bit heavier, but, you know, he's a better rim protector, better shot blocker. Not quite the scorer at the mid-range, but, like, very comparable. Now we've got the Grizzlies, who are now in the Eastern Conference, if you remember, and they are trying to trade. Grizzlies want John Collins. I 100% could see the Jazz slinging John Collins for this pick, so I'm going to allow this to happen. John Collins also kind of weirdly feels like a Grizzlies player, so I like this trade a lot for both sides. But yeah, John Collins gets you the 20th pick in the draft. And now Golubovich goes to the Jazz. That's funny. I like that, though, because they already have a wing. Those are not great grades, not great potential. You know, he's just kind of there. The Jazz are definitely rebuilding. They need young guys, and Bojan Golubovich, definitely an interesting pick here at 20. Now we've got the Timberwolves on the clock, and they want to trade. So the Kings are definitely going somewhat level of youth movement. I'm going to allow it. I think the Timberwolves would be happy with a player like Dennis Schroeder, probably as a sixth man, and the Kings need younger talent. So we're going to let this happen, and now the Kings are on the clock again, and they select Jerome Barry Carroll. So this is an interesting player because I don't think I created him. Yeah, he's a 73 overall. He's not particularly great at anything other than just being an exceptionally good athlete. He has medium potential, but yeah, like a well-rounded guy. 73 overall. He's a project for sure. Moving on, now we've got the Celtics here at 22. Are they going to pick the player we want? J.J. Mack. They might have. He was definitely someone I would have considered. I like J.J. Mack a lot. He's a 70 overall. He's 20 years old. Good mid-range. Decent three. Okay playmaker. Not a good defender. Decent athlete. But he's got A- potential. So the Celtics clearly, you know, don't need a win-now player. Well, I don't know. I mean, you can argue however you want to. I don't think they have enough. I think they have too much depth to the point where this is a player who's basically going to be the Peyton Pritchard replacement in a couple of years. Like, J.J. Mack can be your sixth man in a couple of years. Let him sit. But yeah, he'll develop into something. But he is not something yet. So you can make your argument if you want that type of player for the Boston Celtics. Now it's our pick. There's a player on the board that I like. I really like Seth Foster. I like him a lot. You know that interior defense that I was talking about? He helps us there. Not a high ceiling player, obviously. Gordon Whitmore is another one that I'm looking at that I really like. This is where I'm torn, though. Like, I like these guys, like Boyd Kennedy, whatever, Desmond Roberts. These are the guys. It's these two. I don't think our issue is at the point guard position if we have, like, an issue. I think our issue is with the bigs. We just don't have that interior presence. All right, I've talked myself into it. I'm selecting him, Seth Foster, out of Cincinnati. I like the pick a lot for us. He's a 76 overall, great rebounder, great athlete. Obviously, his potential could have been higher, but this is the type of player you need. I'm going to be sad if Gordon Whitmore is like a really good player, but at the same time, I just don't think that's what we need to focus on. With me, you have Mac Howard. That's a guy we want to have the ball. I don't think we want a guy that's going to flourish from a ton of touches. So now we've got the Atlanta Hawks on the clock. They are going to select Boyd Kennedy. I like Boyd a lot out of Auburn. He's older. He has a higher ceiling. He's better defensively. I just think Foster is what you need out of a player in our system. Boyd Kennedy goes right after him. That could be an interesting pick there. The Knicks select Desmond Roberts. That's an interesting pick for them, too. Desmond Roberts is a 75, well-rounded guard, and he has A- potential. Now, that was a guy I really, really should have looked more at. Obviously, he's a great athlete, very well-rounded guard. I just feel like this is like if Killian Hayes had high potential. He's already 23. That's already up there. I'm not saying he's bad, but you're not. We're trying to play the long game here, and I'm just saying, like, Foster's 20. Now the Wizards are on the clock. They're gonna take Peter Rodman. Rodman was another guy in that late range in the first. He's also 23. He's a scorer. Like, yeah, he can do the interior game a little bit, but he's a scorer. He's like a Grant Williams type of player. Definitely a good role player. You know, he can play really well next to the first pick that they got, Gino Braun. I think that their fit together is really nice. Now the Suns are on the clock, and they are going to pick Damon Madison. He's a shooting guard, pure shooting guard, 6'7". I mean, he's a pure scorer. Not much else that he's doing. He doesn't have high potential. He's a good athlete, and he's a shooter. Now the Blazers are on the clock, and they select Channing Barry. And now the Nuggets are on the clock, and they go Chauncey Ortiz. Cavs go Nick Chase. Now the Knicks are on the clock, and they go Gordon Whitmore. Gordon Whitmore, 76 overall, great playmaker, great scorer, all three levels, B potential, decent athlete, great player. Great player. Nothing else to say. Final pick in the first round, the Utah Jazz select Elliot Clement. Good defense, good rebounding. Definitely surprised he almost didn't go in the first round. They got a nice one. Now that we're in the second round, I'm going to go quicker here. The Sonics, they select Demetrius from Greece. The Hornets select Wayne Neely. And wow, the Jazz get Irvin House Jr. You know, almost like the Sharif Cooper. You're like, he fell this far? Definitely like that pick for Utah. Willie Parsons, another good like 3-and-D guy, goes to the Suns. Love that. Knicks on the clock again. Alexei Bellamy, like that for them. He's a big guard out of Indiana. Pelicans on the clock take Jonathan Nunn. The Rockets take Johnny Fox. The Bucks are now on the clock. They take Evan Hester out of BYU. The Blazers take Cade Palmer. The Sixers take Rudy Grant. The Nets go Douglas Davidson. The Pistons, Roberto Champagnie. The Knicks again, Magnus Svensson. Finally getting a big for them. They need big depth in general. AJ McBuckets. Love that guy. Yeah, great player. Glad the Clippers scooped him up. Now the Miami Heat, Quincy Dixon. 76ers, Hayden Hawk. I liked him a lot. That was one of my guys that I was definitely looking at if we kept our pick. We obviously don't have a second-round pick now. But the Magic, Taco Callaway, very nice selection there. John Wright Foreman. You can start to see how many of these guys I made and the guys that the CPU made. But yeah, Indiana gets Dirk Klein. And the Mavericks, Ernest Peterson. Murray Bryan from Colorado goes to the Nuggets. That's funny. Tim Newton to the Wolves. Now Terrence Daniels to the 76ers. Darrell Haywood to the Celtics. Daniel Matthews to the Blazers. This guy from Russia to the Lakers. Lee Kemp to the Wizards. RJ Outlaw to the Nets. Gabe Sasser to the Rockets. Isaac Daniel to the Suns. Can't believe he almost went undrafted. What a player. Golden State Warriors now take this Swedish point guard. And the Pistons take Wilson Johnson. So that's your draft. Rookie signing. We're obviously going to accept both Mac Howard and Seth Foster. Obviously, Mac is our guy that we're hoping turns our franchise around. So the rest of this, we are going to get into probably in a separate episode, just because the draft took a while. At this point, I'm just going to break the offseason down just because I spent way too much time with the draft and looking at everything. But until then, take care, and I'll catch you later.